most of the schools and colleges have now gone back for another year's work. And some of the people have gone back to find that teachers are missing and that courses they want to do have been cut and that equipment hasn't been replaced. Lots of people say that the future of the country depends upon the education of its young. Well, are we cutting our own throat? Are the education cuts too much? We've got in the theatre this afternoon lots of real young people who are going to discuss this topic. So, right, over to you, the education cuts. Anybody here found that, say, a course that they wanted to do has just overnight disappeared, or a teacher that they had last term is out on his ear because there's just not the money to pay him? Oh, we've got somebody over here who's going to speak. Right,
yeah, we got an art foundation course that runs from 9:30 to 6 in the evening. It's Thurrock Tech.
Yeah.
And Thursday and Friday have had to be cut to finish at 3:30 now because they're cutting part-time hours. And we have to spend 1 week in 4 outside the college premises because there aren't enough hours to go around between the teachers without laying the teachers off.
What, 1 week in 4 outside college premises? What do they mean? Not being taught to,
so
doing something else?
So we have to be at home or going around museums or something. We can't be in the college because there aren't enough hours to go around the teachers.
Like a kind of 3-day week thing, except a 3-week
roughly
month.
3-week month, if you see what I mean.
And somebody was talking over there a minute ago.
I think the state should put as much money as they can into education because it's people like us here that are going to run the country soon. Yeah. Well, not these actual people, but if we come out of school a bit ignorant, not having a good enough education, just imagine what this country's going to be like.
Well, do you agree with that? Do you agree that education is a priority for government money? Yeah. You do feel that? Right, over there. Hand up.
Well, surely if we didn't cut education, I mean, if it would have to come from defence or health. So what's more important? Surely defence and health are more important than education.
No.
Well, that's not defence.
Surely the defence of the country is more important.
All right, don't get too out of order. Right, young lady over there.
I mean, defence isn't really necessary, right? If there's a war, we die anyway. So it's not
Right, one at a time, one at a time.
But
Don't start a war.
education is something that's really important because education's really important. You all grow up and you have to learn. And if we don't all learn together, in the educational system, if the rich just get educated, then what about everyone else? It's just not right.
We've got David Aronovich, who's the NUS president in the theatre this afternoon. Have you got... What's your statement on this? The way the government seem to be mismanaging the money that they don't seem to have.
If they go to college, quite a lot of the people here will get £6 a week at the most to study, and they won't get the unemployment money. So there's no incentive for them to do anything but be on the dole, and there's no incentive for them to be anything but unemployed. And that system's got to be crazy.
Yeah. Well, I'm talking to Stuart the other day, whose surname I forget, Bayliss, who's from the Conservative Education Advisory Committee. And he was saying, no, speaks nicely on the telephone. And he was talking about in some local councils, like in Newcastle, Sheffield and some in London, have been giving sixth formers a £10 a week grant to stay on in sixth form colleges. Now, this is probably a ploy to stop you getting unemployment money and making it cheaper. But what do you think about that? Would more of you... How would you go for an idea like that if it was introduced across the board? A £10 a week for sixth form college students. Right.
Well, if we get £10 a week, a lot of that will go on books anyway, because we've had to cut down on books and we've got to buy our own anyway.
What are you saying, £10's not enough?
No.
No. It's less than unemployment money, isn't it, obviously? Yeah.
It might get people to go back to school, but they're going to only spend it on school anyway.
Yeah. Right. Can we come to Stuart now, who's on this Conservative committee? Now, you've heard a lot of the things that people are saying here, and obviously your committee is an integral part of a government which is perpetrating these policies. How do you, what are you going to say to these people here and now?
Well, I mean, I'm not here representing the government or the party, but I've been involved in student work for a long time, and what I think is important is the type of question that was raised over here, where he was saying that it's so different across the country. And one of the real problems is not only is it different across the country, but as you all know within your own colleges, if you look at across 1 or 2 classrooms, you'll find some of you can be on TOPS awards, others on Tech and Bet courses, getting different types of loans. You want to simplify it.
Yeah.
And you want one grant to everyone over 16, because you end up with a big
no discretionary awards,
That's
no
right.
means tests. You want to come back on that? OK, down here.
I can't understand why people in schools, they can they can stay on an extra year if they want to do another A-level or O-level something, and they get all their books paid for and they get their exams paid for, and yet when we go to college, we want to do an extra year, we have to pay for our course and pay for our books and pay for our exams.
Oh, right.
The only way I could afford to come to college this year was to sign on as part-time at college, go on the dole, and I had to sign this thing saying that if a job come up, that I would leave college and go to work.
If you don't take the job, then you lose the money from the unemployment benefit, so you can't afford to stay at college.
That's true.
If you do take the job, you have to leave college anyway. Can we come down here?
Yeah, I think that grants and the like have always been inadequate.
Yeah.
And the government, by introducing more cuts in education, is cutting its own throat, because whereas before it hasn't been so important to have young educated people, nowadays it is, because with the rise of computers and the like in industry, we're going to need technicians, and this country's going to fall by the wayside compared to the rest of the world.
Right, is there anybody here then, if you had the chance to sit on some committee for education or be a Prime Minister or something like that, how would you attack the problem with you haven't got the money, but it's obvious we need the money? How would you try and clear up the mess in education that we've been talking about here? Anybody got any ideas?
While you're a student, what you could do is you could get your grant and then you could do community work so many evenings a week or something, or maybe just 2 evenings a week, to pay off your grant from the government. So you'd be working, theoretically, 2 evenings a week to pay for it.
I've never heard that idea before.
Well, it works.
You're
In
saying
our
that
country.
people should, like, be employed by the government.
Yeah, just say for the evening to do community work, and then in the day do their studies.
Well, how do you react to that suggestion that you should work your evenings and study your days? Not every evening.
Sort of like 3 evenings a week or something like that.
Right, what do you think of that idea? Working 3 evenings a week for your government to pay for your education? Right, over there.
People have to do part-time jobs anyway to subsidise themselves at school, so how can you fit them in?
Yeah, absolutely. You'd be working 8 nights a week.
Yeah.
Yeah, to pay for your education.
But there are people who just sit there and they just go to college for something to do, and it was a waste of government money. The government money that could be spent on the people who really want to work.
Yes, but in that case, the people that are in college that sit there and do nothing would probably be the people who are unemployed sitting and doing nothing and costing the government more anyway.
I think most people who go to college want something out of it. They may not always know what, in which case there should be people there to advise them on what they could do, and they need money to do it.
Yeah, right, over there, in the blue.
I think if you're paying to go to college, it's putting me off, really, because I wouldn't have to afford to go to college, so I think it's going to put me off going.
Yeah.
Because my parents won't have to afford to pay for it.
So you've got the decision either of going to work and risking not getting a job anyway, or staying at school and not doing the course you want to do because they don't do it.
Well, the course might be at the school, so I'm hoping for college, but I don't think I'll have to afford it.
Yeah, that's the only solution really, isn't it? Just to everybody to do maths, geography, history and physics, and not do law and have babies and what have you. You know? Isn't it? Which is a real shame, ain't it? Right, back here.
It is true that the government do give a lot of grants, but grants can also be obtained from industry. If you apply to a company when you're expecting your exam results, and if you think you're going to be good enough perhaps to work for them afterwards, a company that you're interested in working for, it's quite possible for them to give you a grant to actually go to university or higher education college.
Well, perhaps I could ask David if that is worth doing.
Sometimes there's not many of them around. I mean, you could also join the army or the Air Force or something like that. And
yeah, they give you money, don't they? About 3,000.
Yeah, they give you a lot of money.
Yeah.
In fact, you do better if you went as an army student or an Air Force student than anything else. But there isn't all that much from private companies, and I'm afraid the real answer still lies within what the government is giving to students to study.
Well, there we are. The real answer lies within what the government is giving to students to study.